Hello again and welcome to section 2 in this course on data visualization. Today is all about the scroll bar. Now once you start inserting form controls to your dataset, you really come across a lot more professional because now you're making the dataset easier to interact with and easier to see. I'll show you what I mean. First, let's go to our developer tab. We're going to insert a scroll bar. It's under form controls. Click on scroll bar. Let's insert it right here. We'll stretch from cell A2 to A11. There we go. Make it a little bit wider. All right. So now we have our scroll bar. When you scroll down, nothing almost seems to happen. It kind of goes down, but nothing really seems to happen. But now go ahead and right click and go to Format Control. So now we're in our format controls. What we're going to do, we're going to change this up a little bit. The minimum value is going to be 1. We don't want a 0 value. Maximum value, it's actually going to be a lot more than 100. I think our data set has about 1300. We'll do that, 1300. Incremental changes, we'll do 10 actually. Because our form control stretches down 10 cells. And for cell link, we're going to put it right here. You say, what is a cell link? A cell link shows us which number we're at. So I'll show you what that means. Press OK. So now you'll see our cell link is at 1. Because remember, the minimum value we put is number 1. It was a scroll bar. Likewise, we're going to change this cell to scroll bar. Be referencing this later on. There we go. So now as we click on our little scroll bar, it goes from 1 to 11 to 21 in increments of 10. You might say, now why do we need this? Because now we can have all these other cells based on this one cell. And now we're going to have a little mini data set to show Michael Scott the information he wants. Because now he wants a mini data set. And he doesn't want to go to his unclean data. He doesn't want to go through all these columns. He just wants a little mini version of just the columns that he wants. And he wants it to be a maximum of 10 rows. So let's see if we can do that. First, this will be the row numbers. And he wants to see the customer name. He also wants to see the order date. Oops. Order date. He also wants to see the product. And then he wants to see the number of orders. So how can we do this row number? This will be our index number, which I'll show you what that is later on. But first, this will just be scroll bar. So basically it's just a copy of that cell. And the ones beneath it will be equal to the cell above it plus 1. And enter. Stretch this down. Now we have a working list. Now watch what happens when I click the scroll bar. It all shifts. So now we have a working row column, which both helps us see which order we're looking at, and it also gives us a value for an index number. To fix this up a little bit, there we go. For the customer name, first let's go to our unclean data, because we have a first and last name, but we don't have a full name. Now I'll give you a second to think about how can we join these two cells. We did it in a past lesson, do you still remember? It is flash fill. We're going to call this full name. We're going to say just Joseph Pierce, and then we start typing it in and it automatically flash fills. Enter. There we go. We're going to go to our scroll bar. So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to say equals index. We're going to index the entire order table, but just the customer's full name. I'm going to press tab. We're going to close that. So now we're going to index that. So now it's going to look through that entire column. It's going to say, okay, which one or which cell do you want to bring back? And that is this cell right here. So it's the very first one. So this should be Joseph Pierce. Let's go ahead and close this. Enter. Sure enough, Joseph Pierce. And go ahead and copy this down. Stretch it out some. So now we have a working scroll bar. Look at that. We're going to do exactly the same thing to these other ones. Equals index. The arrays, our order table. Notice how easy it is to reference things when we label things properly, so we don't have to go back and forth through Excel sheets. Order table, so equals order date. It's actually down a little bit more. There we go. Column index is B2. Close that. And enter. Of course, these are dates. We're just going to format this. Press Control 1. Format that as a date. Enter. Double click that. There we go. There's the order date. Product, exactly the same. Index. Array is the order table. It's going to be the product. I'm going to close that. The row number is B2. I'm going to close that and enter. There we go. And I'm going to give you a second to fill this one in by yourself. So go ahead and pause the video and see if you can do it alone. You got it? Do equals index. Array would be order table. I'm going to do the number of orders. Right here, just double click that. Close that. The row number is B2. Close that. Enter. Sure enough. Now we have a working mini table of our data. Make that bold. Bring that out some. All right. Now if we scroll down some, it looks like it's working just fine, but if we go far enough, let me just drag this down. Now we have a bunch of reference errors. So what is that? Well, that's because it's going outside the bounds of the table. It's saying, okay, go to this table, then go to row 1297. Well, it actually doesn't go that far. That's the end of our data set. So what we could do, we could wrap this in an if formula, but since we're a bit lazy, let's go ahead and wrap this in a if error formula. Because we already know what the error is. And this is just a small data set, so we can just wrap this as an if error. So if this entire thing is an error, then bring back nothing. Press OK. Copy that down. There we go. Double click. There we go. Now we still have these numbers here. Now we could use a count formula to take care of that. Because if we did a equals count A, order table, let's do, just the first name is fine. Go ahead and close that. So it's 1296. So of course 1296 is the maximum. Once it goes to 1297, it actually exceeds the table. Now this is just a simple cell above it +1, so it doesn't really know better. So to fix these cells down here, since they still have a number, we actually want these to be blank later on. Because if we go down here, it's a little weird. So we could fix these ones down here by making a formula saying that if they exceed the count of 1296 to be blank, so we could say if, we're going to have to wrap this in additional parentheses, so if this is greater than count A of order table, first name. So if that is true, if it's greater than, then to leave it blank. Otherwise, B2 plus 1. Let's go ahead and see what happens. So this one works. It's saying, okay, if the one above it, leave it blank, but then this is looking at it and saying, wait a minute, the one above it is blank. So to fix that, to be quick, now there's other ways you can do it, but just to be quick, I can just write this whole thing in if error formula. And if it's an error, just leave it blank. There we go. So we scroll down. Looks just fine. Now for this very top one, I could say if the scroll bar is greater than count A, if I can spell it correctly, count A of order table, first name. So if it's greater than that, then leave it blank. Otherwise, scroll bar. All right, there we go. Perfect. Now we have a fully functioning scroll bar. I guarantee if you show your boss something like this, he will think you are an absolute pro. Now I'm not going to get into this too much, but just to give you a sneak peek of the visuals we'll be doing later on, watch what happens when I highlight these, number of orders, and then I insert a chart, be a bar chart, press OK. So now we have a chart based on this mini table over here based on their last order, because remember it's all sorted by the order date. So now Michael Scott can scroll through this and see how his customers stack up with their last orders. The chart will automatically adjust based on this data set. Now that's pretty cool, isn't it? We'll be doing more charts and visuals in our upcoming lessons, so stay tuned, you won't want to miss it.